Good evening, everyone. It is time for some minor league fights and insights. Thank you all for joining us tonight. It is Wednesday night. Sorry last week for missing our regularly scheduled program. An emergency came up. Life always takes precedence. So life did. So glad to have you all here tonight. We've got an exciting show for you. Sound is good. Thank you, Daniel. Always a right-hand man, making sure that the audio is coming through loud and clear. We are rolling into week 6. It is episode 10. We've been doing this 10 weeks or 10 times so far. 10 weeks. That is crazy. We'll be finishing out around 15 towards right before the 4th of July hits. This May just flew by. I'm sure it did for you all. We have a great show tonight. We've got Chad Roland is here to talk a little bit about rookie advice as we head into the championships and what else? The draft. That's important too. We've got a special guest player, Mickey, will be here to talk with us in just a moment too.
Actually, I gotta cut you off there right now. You gotta say his name properly. It's
okay.
Mickey. Okay.
That brings us to our crew. We've got Daniel, right? Good evening, Daniel. How are you tonight?
How you doing, everyone? How is everyone having on a Wednesday? We're back. We're finally able to talk some stats, some games, and maybe some controversy and grind your gears along the way. Who knows?
And Derek Meerkat, how are you tonight, sir?
Fantastic.
Good to hear. See you coming to us live from your Meerkat den.
Meerkat den.
Excellent. And Johnny Reno, how are you tonight, sir?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. All right. So, we've got a good show. Let's start off. We'll do this. Daniel, do you want to do it?
Sure. Our special guest today is none other than the kicker who has made all his field goals up to this point. My man, the guy with the best name, got to put up the fingers. You know what's coming. Mickey!
Mickey, how are you tonight?
I am doing well, Axel. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to come and chat with the four of us. Must be the highlight of your week. I don't know.
It's definitely the highlight of my week right now.
Cool. Tell us a little bit about who Mickey. First, how do you pronounce your last name for us?
Well, actually, I kind of love how Daniel just pronounces my name, how you guys brought me this fandom from the preseason game and calling me Mickey. And I'm doing the fingers too, Daniel, just to let you know right now. So the proper pronunciation of my last name is Melillo.
Melillo. Okay. Cool. Or just better known as like Cher, Beyonce, Mickey.
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
All right. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who is Mickey?
Well, real life, Mickey. I hail from New York, but currently living in Reno, Nevada. I work as a 911 dispatcher out here and recently promoted to in charge of quality assurance, education, and training for all of dispatch. I've been in emergency services since I was 18 years old, and I've been doing it for a very, very long time.
Wow. That's a world that I'm not too familiar with myself. Probably, thankfully, that I'm not used to calling 911 or emergencies that often. It sounds like it's a job that keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, it keeps me on my toes and on my butt in the chair a lot too.
I can relate to that. It's kind of flat right now with all the working from home I'm doing. Tell us about your SFLm journey so far. What has it been like since you joined?
Well, I do have to thank you and Daniel for, how it started just from that preseason game, because it's really been, I didn't think it was going to happen, like the fandom and the popularity right off the bat. But it's been fun. My team has been great. The community has been fantastic. It's great chatting with everybody. And, there's not like the animosity like you get for like any other type of like fantasy or anything like that. It's really good when like other teams turn around and congratulate you on having a good game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of like play, a little bit of fun competitiveness that people do, but again, it's usually just in jest and stuff. Um, it's always exciting to see a little bit of it. Keeps you on your toes. Tell me about one of your favorite moments, or if you have more than one. I'd love to hear a little bit about if there's something that stands out to you in your experience so far.
Um, I could bring up the preseason game again, but I won't. Actually, it was a couple of weeks ago that it's a tie ball game, and we're going in. The Adams, we intercepted the ball and ran down the field and got me to, I think, the 3-yard line so I could kick that game-winning field goal. I mean, that right there, having that feeling of just being that person that my team can rely on to come in and win the game for them was just ecstatic for me.
Yeah. You're one of a very in a small group of kickers in the minor leagues right now. What drew you to kicking? Is that something you're always interested in? Is that something that what drew you to that position?
Kicker is, you have to be the more reliable person on the team. Again, just like I just mentioned, you are brought in on situations where we can't get to 10 yards and we're getting 3 points, or when all of a sudden the game's on the line and your 3 points matters, a W or an L, becoming that person and just coming in, kicking in a clutch situation and winning the game for the team.
So just willing to just sort of like nerves of steel, put the team on your back and just go out there and win it when you need to.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Daniel, do you have any questions for Mickey?
Yeah, I got a few. Well, I got an 8 question.
Okay.
We answered the first question off the bat with the last name because me and Mickey were joking about that in DMs once upon a time. But I will actually bring up the DM that we had. You said you had a background in theater and you may want to become part of the broadcast team in the future. Would you like to elaborate more on that and learn and tell about how much you want to learn and be part of this league community?
I do have a big theater background. I've been doing it since I was 16 years old. Even have a radio broadcasting certificate from an online school, and I learned a lot about the online broadcasting nature. Sports has always been a part of my life. The name Mickey didn't come upon me by accident. My father named me after the great Yankee Mickey Mantle, and sports has always been a part of my life. Unfortunately, my passion became football as opposed to baseball. So my father just kind of like, okay. But it's, being able, when I went into the radio broadcasting, I wanted to do like sports talk and things like that, like a morning show type of thing. So when this came about and I found it, and I honestly found the SFL by accident, and I see guys like you here, regular guys and guys in the league that are doing shows and broadcasting. I'm like, this is pretty cool. This is where I can do everything I want to without putting my body on the line or going to school for 4 years and going into debt for $200,000.
Very cool.
Now,
Derek.
someone get Stephen Hacker over here so we can tell this man about Mickey. But go ahead, Derek, if you have any questions.
So you said that you happened upon the league by accident. Can you tell us about how that happened?
Well, so I work very odd hours. Well, I did used to before I became more of an administrator. And one day I just woke up randomly on a Sunday at 1 o'clock in the morning and I just couldn't go back to sleep. And I'm flicking through the channels on DirecTV and I find this channel that says NXT. And I'm going, okay, NXT. And I honestly thought it was about wrestling. And the World Wrestling Entertainment's minor league is the NXT. So I flicked it on. It said Simulation Football League. And I was like, what is this? And I'm a big video game person and everything. So I started watching it. And I'm like, okay, it's a big football video game. So I took out my phone, typed in the website, and read about it. And I was like, I can make a player. And I can make a player that's me, my favorite, and look like one of my favorite players of all time, and play football, even though I'm too old, too fat, and too injured to actually play football anymore.
That's awesome. Living out those dreams vicariously through that little character on the screen, definitely.
Exactly.
You mentioned your favorite player. Who did you model? Like, who did you get to look like that you were excited about?
Dan, I'm looking at your hat, so don't hate me, but it's Dan Marino.
Oh, that's awesome. You said you were a Dolphins fan.
Yes, I am. I'm a Dolphins fan. I have the Dolphins tattoo, and I even have Dolphins season tickets.
Wow, that's awesome. Johnny, do you have any questions for Mickey?
And I apologize if I missed this question. It looks like there's only 3 kickers in the minors right now, and I honestly have no idea how many pro teams at this point need kickers. But have you had any conversations with pro teams, and if so, how have they gone so far?
I've had some conversations with pro teams, some established teams, and some expansion teams, and they've all gone very, very well. I do have my favorite right now that I want to go to, and I'm not releasing any team names of who I've spoken to. So, but I all of them have gone very, very well. They like my mindset for the team, and they and I like their mindset for what they want from me.
Yeah, that's awesome. The draft is very unpredictable, but good luck to you and see how it plays out.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just like what Johnny was saying, with so few of such a precious commodity as a kicker tends to be. I would not doubt that you go in the first round. I can only imagine, much like um, Potty did in season 3. A fellow Tacoma going to DC. I think he might have been like number 5 or something like that on the entire out of the entire
Number 2,
draft.
actually.
Number
Number
2, he
2.
was okay. Awesome. Let's see. So yeah, tell me, like, so you currently have had your experience in Albuquerque in the Albuquerque locker room, and then thinking about what you maybe want to have as in maybe a locker room experience in the pro teams. Tell me about some of the traits or characteristics for a pro team locker room that you ideally would be part of.
What I'd like is, like, right now with the Adams, we all support each other. Even when we started the season as we did, and we went 0 for 3, and nobody was down on each other, nobody was blaming anybody. We were all still talking, hyped for the next week, and that's what I want. I want that camaraderie. And even when I had, you know, when I got the player of the game, which was absolutely, I was in shock when all of a sudden my face came on the screen. Um, there were so many, people just congratulating me and things like that, and that's really what I want to see in a pro locker room if I get to the big league, is that we just remain that camaraderie and people just helping each other out and talking and just having fun in the locker room.
Yeah, I remember you like DM'd me, I think, a still of it, and you're like, "Is it common for a kicker to get player of the game?" I'm like, "I don't think so. Usually, it's the quarterback or running back or a wide receiver usually, but that's pretty awesome."
Yeah, it was very awesome, and you were my really only contact that I had that like has been around the league for a while that I felt comfortable talking to about it. And I was like, and when you told me less than 10% of the time, I'm like, oh my god, wow.
Yeah, I'm glad you're having such a good experience. It's I'm excited for you, for the possibility for you and anybody watching, any of the all of the minor league players, just starting off with, hey, I know Axel, or I know Daniel, or I know someone else. You just sort of, and then another touchstone. And then like tonight, you'll be watching. Now Chad Roland is going to be here. He's co-owner of Indy and very experienced GM in the league. He's now your name's now in his ear. There a lot of great people that you're going to be able to engage with, and it's just the start for you. I've only been here for a little over a year now, and I'm excited to see you and anybody else watching again, just continue to ripple out and make those connections and have that fun in the league. So I want to give you any final words before we let you go.
No, just a big thank you to you and Daniel for that preseason game, for just really getting my name out there. I know it was a unusual 5-for-5 game in preseason, and I wish those kicks would count for the record books, but I know they don't. But just really big accolades to you guys for really starting my experience in the SFLm as it did.
Thank you. That's exactly why we do this stuff. So it's great to hear. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
You bet. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your work.
Thank you. Good night, guys.
Good night.
See you later.
No,
Later.
All right. What a great guy. It's as every time we have somebody on here, it's just the same thing. Really great special stories that we're hearing of people's both journeys to the league, how they found it, and what their journey has been like so far in their experience, which is great. Whether that's a couple weeks in, like I think a couple weeks ago we listened to Ronnie Shanahan that just really recently joined the league and had been waiting for a wide receiver spot, went to free safety, and we talked to him I think 2 weeks ago, and then just now he was able to find that wide receiver spot became open and was able to jump on it, and to see people just sort of like passionate about it is just great to see. So that brings us to our next point of business before we move on. We've got, you guys saw a little tease of this, I think it was yesterday. We've got the forum all set. We've got the SFLm PROspect Bowl, not the Pro Bowl, so don't be confused with that. This is the Prospect Bowl. Prospects are, the SFL minor league players. They're prospects for the Pro Bowl or pro teams. The airing will be right in between during championship week on Wednesday night in replace of our time right now, same 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. We'll kick off. And then we'll have a special follow-up the very next day on Thursday night, Minor League Fights and Insights special I think it's both going to be a pre-championship, which I think the championship is on that Friday, followed up by then Saturday, Sunday of the draft. So lots of stuff happening in about 3-ish weeks. So that's going to be really exciting. But that does mean that we need you all to vote. Last year we had 99 votes, and I'm hoping we can blow that number out of the water. You each get to vote once, so it remembers your IP address and things. So I'm going to go hit the buttons to send out the stuff in all the different places out there.
And while you're doing that, Axel, I'm just going to point it out. This has nothing to do with the SFL generally. We're doing this to give you guys something else to play with, kind of thing, like we did with the preseason games. We're going to give you guys a chance to come together, play on different teams, play as a group, and whoever you guys find deserving of being part of the Prospect Bowl, vote for them. We don't care if they're on different teams or stuff like that. Just we want deserving people and people in the community to have fun. That's the main thing we're doing out of this.
Exactly. You might ask, well, what qualifies a favorite player? Well, that's all up to you. That's if you like stats, based on their stats. If you like their haircut, based on their haircut. It's all up to you who you think should be out there shining. So everyone who is out there that has played in the SFLm games is in that forum. You get to vote for one per position. And I think it's June 15th. We'll do the big reveal a week before the game itself. We'll go through every position for East and West and share, who got such an amount of votes and who's the starters for those teams for the game. Johnny was both Derek and Johnny last season were part of the Prospect Bowl. What was that experience like for either of you? You're on mute.
Yeah.
My bad. I went to look for the ballot right now, and there's something that I noticed that's way different from last season. There's actual choices. There was a couple I know last year that there was like one player for that position for the East or West. So it's really cool to see to have more choices.
I'm glad you called that out because I took last year's ballot and just sort of edited it, cleared out all of the entries, the votes, and going through it, editing it. There was one division, I don't know if it was West or East, where they did not have any offensive linemen. So I put NA as one option, and then the other option, I know somebody, I'm going to ask them to be an offensive lineman, join the league. So thankfully, we've got a lot more players out there, a lot more defensive linemen, a lot more offensive linemen. Should be a lot of fun. Johnny, what was your experience? I know you were on the call a little bit last year, and hopefully you'll be able to join us this year again. Johnny, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I apologize. Can you hear
No,
me?
yes.
Yeah, I was on the call last year. Maybe. What day is the Prospect Bowl again?
It's Wednesday in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, right there.
Oh, sorry, 3 weeks.
Maybe I'll be lucky enough to be on it again. But
Okay.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, the one thing I thought was cool is that you see a lot of players start promoting themselves to be voted on. It kind of brings the best out of everybody. But yeah, it was a lot of fun last season. Just seemed like yesterday.
Right, I agree. And you mentioned people promoting themselves. If you had to look at somebody as an example, I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong too, Daniel, he did the same thing for the actual Pro Bowl or All-Star game, I think, maybe, no, it wasn't All-Star game. What was it? Pro Bowl
honor
selection.
award?
Yes, it was something. King Rashid, I think, is a very good promoter.
Oh yeah,
So he's
we
up there.
voted King Rashid hard for that, and
Yeah.
he deserved it.
He's in every single chat channel saying, "Oh, here's the link to the form. Vote for me." So
Vote for me.
That's up to you all. That's a great way to get your name out there. Is a good reason to do that. Letting these people shine should be a lot of fun. So again, that's we'll be. So the voting ends end of the day next week. We'll do a reminder next show in 1 week. We'll tally up the votes the week after on the 15th. We'll showcase who is what and where and what positions, and then the week after we'll be playing the game. So cool. That's that. Go out there and vote. Make sure to do that. We'll give a little ping at the end of the show as well. But that means that we are ready for our next special guest. So tonight we have with us the one, the only. Oops, wrong button. Chad Roland. Chad, how are you tonight? You're on mute, I think.
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
Good. Doing good.
I should be on, right? Hang
You
on.
are, yep.
Is that better?
I don't hear you very well anymore. Not sure. I don't see you as muted, so you're good there. Did you have a microphone in your headset at all? I did hear you when you had it on. I don't hear you anymore. Still nothing. Coming in and out a little bit. Nothing. Hello? Nope. Nothing. I'm not sure. Let's see. We tried turning it off and on again. There we go. We'll see. He just bounced from our VC. Here we go. Let's see.
Okay, is it better?
I can hear you. I heard. Is it better?
Yeah, is it better?
It is better. Yep. Seems to be.
All right, we'll leave
Excellent.
it like it is.
Perfect. Good evening. How are you tonight, Chad?
I'm better now. I mean, I don't understand how that wasn't working all of a sudden.
I am not sure either. I feel like maybe Eddie Gage was in chat or something, and he made it.
I blame Eddie for everything. So
That's good. Well, you are here to talk and sort of drop some knowledge bombs on the rookies out there as the impending date of the draft comes near. We've got 3 weeks from this weekend will be the draft, Saturday, Sunday, I believe the 25th and 26th. Tell us, are there certain things that you think rookies should know as they lead up to the draft?
I mean, yeah, there's a ton of things that probably rookies should know off the bat, right? I mean, first and foremost, I mean, reach out to us fellow owners and fellow GMs, right? Because that's that's going to get your name on the map. Like sometimes there's a lot of rookies in the SFLm, so you could be in a position where we're not looking for you, but you could you could pop up in our minds as something down the road or whatever, right?
Yeah.
A good GM really should be trying to interview every single one of you, but sometimes you just don't get enough time or people don't respond or whatever. But, as a rookie, go ahead and try to reach out to these guys, because we're waiting for you, right? At the end of the day, we're waiting for you guys to come and talk to us and let us know how much you want to be in Indianapolis or in Minnesota or wherever you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows us, a lot of respect towards us, for all that.
Yeah, most of the owners, most of the GMs don't bite, and actually, that's why that they're in the role that they are. GMs,
Yeah.
they're there to network and to build a relationship with you, and that's what they're there for. And they expect people to be, as much as they reach out, they're expecting people to be as active in reaching out to these GMs. So. Is that, I mean, so you've been doing this. I forgot, I should probably introduce you a little, or allow you to introduce yourself even further. So I have underneath your name, Indy co-owner. So you are the new owner of the Indianapolis Ramblers alongside Adam Weissman. You are also a experienced GM coming from London currently, but you also have some experience other places. Is that right?
Yeah, so I came into the league in season 13, right at the beginning, like week 1, week 2, I think. And I actually got my start as a non-contract rookie in Baltimore. So I was a defensive end in Baltimore, and then before the playoffs, like after our first playoff victory against Atlanta in season 13, I was offered the GM position then, which was a huge honor for me because Baltimore was such a well-respected franchise. I didn't think I would even be in that situation, but TJ must have saw something in this little snot-nosed kid that that worked for him, and so I accepted the GM position before I even signed my first contract. And the one thing I didn't do was go through the draft because I took a front office position. So signed up in there and was able to bring in some great talent, to get them over the hump. I mean, they were already a really good franchise anyway, but just adding a couple of key pieces to win their first title in season 15. And then after that, I wanted to challenge, wanted something different. And so I went to London and became the GM and head coach there for 3 seasons. Turned a team that won 7 games in 3 seasons to a team that won 18 games in 3 seasons, and only made their first playoff appearance, but won their first playoff game this past season.
Congratulations on that. And so when you're talking with rookies, minor league players, is there any certain things that you're looking for? Like, how should they behave? What are some like telltale signs that, hey, this person might be, or is there any certain thing, any behaviors or certain things that sort of like shove them to the side that you're like, yeah, if you come at me like in this kind of way, or is it just simply maybe not even responding, or are there certain things that like don't do this but do this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's really what I want to touch on as well is, what I do. And some rookies have already seen this, some rookies have not, but I like to send a questionnaire out, right? And the questionnaire is really just a simple, like, 4-question ordeal, like, how'd you find the SFL? What would you change about the SFL? Just asking little general questions and stuff. And what I don't even really look at the answers so much as I look for, did you actually take the time to answer the questions, right? Because as a GM, I'm taking the time to look you up and talk to you. I feel like the respect should be backed by answering the questions. And if you come at me with short answers like, I just, I'm a player, I want to be a star, or, and just, saying whatever, just little short answers that you can give me, I feel like you're not giving me enough time or giving me the respect of time to answer the questions. So you really don't care in my mind. And so I shove you off to the side. So as somebody who is talking to all the rookies tonight, take pride in those type of things, answer those questions. Yeah, I mean, you have to write a novel, but may answer them like as if you really want to answer the questions, because if you do, it could mean between a 1st-round pick and a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And rookies, some rookies, they come in here with the persona like, I just want to come in here and catch touchdowns and do this and throw touchdowns, get interceptions, all this stuff. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but that's not what we're looking for, right? We could find talent easily. What we're looking for is people that can come in like Indy, like you're going to be doing in Minnesota here soon, building the culture, right? You're looking for guys that can come in and build the culture up. That's what we care about. And so with that, taking the time to answer those questions, I mean, it's just the little simple things that could turn your stock from really low to really high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like reading between the lines of actually what's being said a little bit, and like just simply, are you giving this the due diligence? Are you, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a player, but you can, share that a little bit or expand a little bit than just simply, very shorthand or not even answering the questionnaire in some way.
I mean, I've seen guys that come at me, and I've had people that give me Word docs and answering the questions, and I've had people that have barely taken this much space to answer the question, and so that's where it's just the fine line of when you're building an organization, what are you looking for, right? Do you want somebody that cares, or you just want somebody that, okay, maybe their value is good, but then they're probably going to be gone in one season. I'm just going to be back at square A again, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking for people that will be committed to Indianapolis long term. I'm not looking for people that's going to come in for 1 year then bounce. So like I said, with those questions, that little questionnaire like that, like it may be basic questions to people, but it's not about what you answer and how you answer. It's about how you answer the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're giving me the time of day to answer them, then I'm going to give you the time of day to put you high on my draft board and possibly draft you.
Yeah. Speaking of draft coming up, like I'd be curious to hear your point for having your GM experience. What is it like for you as a GM? If you're talking to people, and I have this answer, I can answer this too, but I want to hear from you. Okay, getting listed on someone's draft board, things go really well. Picks start going. It's all about sort of what players are available at the time. Did other teams pick the ones you were interested in? Like, it's not exactly like, oh, so-and-so said they're going to take me. Well, that's all and good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that someone won't take you sooner or other things.
True.
I'm just curious on sort of your, like, if there's anything you want to mention about that process.
Yeah, I mean, going into the draft, when if I'm telling a player, like, I want to pick you, like, yeah, I want to pick you, but I also have other options, and for the one thing that I'll tell every rookie not to do is to never, just don't do this ever. If a GM reaches out to you, don't tell them, I have a place in mind, that I already know where I want to be drafted. Because trust me, it never works out that way. I've seen too many rookies when I interview them. They're saying, "Hey, I want to go to London, for example," and then all of a sudden they're getting drafted by Sioux Falls. So, it's one of those things where, like, you don't want to do that, because then you're ruining a chance. Because then let's say that a Sioux Falls does take you, or a Tulsa or somebody like that, and then you come up on your pick and you're like, oh, well, I had a talk with Chad. We're good. I'm going to be here. Well, no, because you told me no, basically. So I'm going to pick somebody that truly actually wants to be here. So that's one of those things where you can't just say, oh, yeah, this team's going to take me, because as we all know in the SFL, if you ever watch the draft, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's one of the craziest things in the SFL that can happen, especially when you have 4 expansion teams coming into the season. You don't know where everybody's going to go. So just when you have an opportunity to interview with a team, take the interview and treat it like as if you want to, that's your number one place to be. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're also looking for.
Yeah. And, as teams go into the draft, they've got their plans A through Z all sort of set. And as soon as the first pick goes, then it's just like all hands on deck. We don't, like, it's so dynamic during the entire thing that it changes every single pick. And you're like, oh, darn, what's going on there? How do we plan that out? And it's just a very fun opportunity for players to be present and just sort of like, be in there and it's an experience. You only get to do this for the most part once in the SFL. People, maybe some players have been part of some sort of draft in the previous experience. I have no idea, but it's firsthand. It is a very fun experience to go through. There was something else I was going to say, but I forgot. Daniel or Derek or Johnny, do any of you have any questions or any knowledge bombs at all that you'd like to drop?
Yeah, sure. Chad, since we're in voice, congratulations on Indy properly.
Thank you.
But can you tell about the players come draft day how important it is to be ready to pick up a phone or to talk to people? Because I know people got missed in drafts because they weren't there at the time to take the phone call or even say, "Hey, I'm ready to be drafted."
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, if you are somebody that you're going to be picked, and I know real life happens and some people get busy with stuff, but just be available. Even if it's simply by text sometimes. I've ran into situations where, I remember in season 15, it's funny. I think I ended up drafting Nate Brown, which is now he's a defensive tackle in Baltimore, and I remember I was like frantic trying to find somebody because I couldn't get a hold of the original guy I wanted to pick. And so and I had okay, here's option A, option B, option C, and then I got to Nate, and Nate answered. And so guess what? Nate was picked, and look what happened to him. He's won 2 or 3 SFL championships with Baltimore. So those little things like that where you could be there, just be ready to be answering the phone, even if it's not just a phone call, just a simple DM through Discord, like, hey, we're on the clock, we want to draft you, you good, goes a long way.
Derek or Johnny, anything? I think you're on mute, Derek, if you're talking.
This is twice now. I'm just too tired, man.
It's all right.
I was just gonna kind of mirror what Chad said earlier about reaching out to guys, and even if they don't want to draft you that year, there was a lot of teams last year that I reached out to before I was getting drafted, and all but one team picked me, obviously. So when I became a free agent, all those guys that I already had connections with from talking to reached out to me. A lot of those guys. So it's great to make those connections, because if you start looking for a team a year or two down the road, you're going to have those connections, and those guys are going to know who you are.
I mean, that is so accurate, man. 110% accurate. Because even if I reach out to you, for example, Derek, let's say you're in the draft and you're like, hey, I don't want to go to Indianapolis. I don't want to be drafted by Indy. I want to be drafted by whoever. Still have that connection, because what if something happens at your old team and you're on the free agent market, all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Indy sounds pretty appealing. All of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, I remember you. You didn't even want to take my call. So
Yep.
yeah, that's why I was trying to reach back. That's what I was saying before is whenever somebody comes at you, GM, owner, whoever, and says, hey, I want to talk to you about the possibility of coming to Indy or to Minnesota, wherever, take that call, because you never know down the road when you might need that team, or maybe that team, let's say Indy, hopefully will ever win a title, and all of a sudden like, oh man, I would love to go play for Indianapolis. They're a championship team. And then I'll be like, hey man, I remember 4 seasons ago, you didn't even want to talk to me. And I remember that stuff. And I know all GMs and owners do, so just keep that in the back of your guys' head as rookies when you're talking to these GMs and owners, because we remember that stuff just as much as you think we would.
And Johnny, you've been part of a couple drafts. The most recent one being successfully drafted. So congratulations on that. 6 months late? Anything specific that you'd like to share for any listeners? For some reason, your video just disappeared.
Oh no!
Oh, not this again.
It's all right.
Yeah. Same thing happened. You can hear me though?
I can hear you. Yep, I'll see about getting you back in, but oh well.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I
No
could have
worries.
lost connection. But anyway, yeah. So, kind of piggybacking off of what Derek had said, the draft that I did not get picked, leading into the season 17 draft. During that time, even though I didn't get picked, I did meet also a lot of owners and GMs, and kind of like everybody was saying, building those relationships, that even becoming a free agent now, I had some of those people even reach back out due to our conversations that we had a year ago. So yeah, relationships are everything. You realize that in a short amount of time, you can meet a lot of people that do a lot within the league to to get you places that you may not think you could go. I do have one question for Chad, and this is kind of question to kind of promote this as well. But during your conversations with the rookies, how or the minor league players, how much stock do you put into players that maybe want to get into stats or higher roles outside of just being a player? Maybe they're interested in coaching or interested in certain things. I know in interviews I personally had, it was something I was interested in, but I wasn't sure how to really dive into those. But do those conversations take place with these players, and if so, kind of how does that go?
Yeah, I mean, if I can stretch my arm up, I'd go even higher than what I could now. Yeah, I mean, the value of somebody that could come in and help your organization, not just as a player on the field, but somebody off the field, is huge. Um, especially like, I mean, like me and Axel, for example. I mean, we're building brand new franchises, and so getting people in on the ground floor is important, especially for the 4 expansion teams. And so, even with the other teams and stuff, like, stats people, that's a big discussion, during this off season and the owners stuff. I mean, it's a big time thing. And so, you're seeing a team that publicly announced that they took a cap hit, which was Denver, because they didn't have anybody to do their stats. And so now with a season where the cap doesn't move, it affects pretty big. I mean, that's a pretty big cut. So very important, and that's one of the questions on that questionnaire that I send out is, do you have aspirations to be more than a player? Because if there's an opportunity for somebody to be wants to be a coach, a scout, a GM, whatever, I want to know that, because it's something that I've always preached about Indy is, myself, I've the league has given me so much, with being able to be a GM, being able to basically run London's organization because of Liam letting me do that. I want to be able to make Indy a place of learning, right? And that's why, like, I hired Chris Britton as a GM. It's his first GM position that he's ever had. And so, wanting to get somebody that could come in and learn under me and be able to, grow my, coaching tree or GM tree, is a big thing for me. And so, knowing if you're able to be a front office person, their stats, if it's scouting, if it's whatever, that's huge for not just me, but for all owners and GMs in this league. And yes, that will absolutely 100% skyrocket your value. No matter if you're a 2-week copper build, it will skyrocket your value. Trust me on that.
And knowing that there's going to be a little bit of a shakeup after as we head into season 6 of the minor leagues. There's owners are unable to be, and rightfully so, to sort of try not to get have owners too close to the minor leagues and give any team an unfair advantage of building these relationships even stronger than what you can through the interviewing process. Owners are not able to participate inside of minor league teams. So myself, Ethan Kai, both Jaden Swift and Berto Demora, all unable to participate. Jacob Clear taking his position in Charleston, are unable to participate next year. So there's going to be a lot of open positions as well. Great opportunities for people who are looking at stepping into and learning some of these coordinating type of positions, and scouting and stats are two ways that you can give back. You can never have enough of either of those for any team out there. There's always, okay, more information. Oh, we've already got 3 people scouting, but you can still look at another game back, or who are we playing in 2 weeks, and get that information. So I feel like those stats and scouting are 2 spots that you can never have enough on people interested in doing those. And both of those, for the most part, can be done without the game as well. So it's an easy way for people to sort of get in and give back to their teams. So,
and not only give back to the team, but give back to the league too, right? I mean, because our broadcasts are top notch. It's what makes this league, right? In my mind, is the broadcast. The behind the scenes stuff. I did stats back in season 14, and I got to really see a good feel of, what happens behind the scenes, and it just really gives you an appreciation of the work that all these guys put in. And this past season was the first season that you've seen live stats up on the board, and that's because of the stats people. That's because of the stats team, and that adds so much more value to our league. So, absolutely, with the stats team, that's a big necessity for all teams, and and it's not just for us. It benefits you guys, and it also benefits the league as well.
Mm-hmm. I want to jump to a sort of a topic around drafting that, again, this is during the draft. It's ultimately, almost like a lottery for the teams to be able to pick the player that they think is going to help fill a spot on their roster and help them win a championship or help them, get even further year after year. It's sort of the one time that the teams have control and to be able to pick and choose who gets to be on their team. And like you said, Chad, if you're interviewing, don't stop interviewing, even if you have a someone that you like or a team that you're wanting to go to. Just maintaining those open communication is great. And don't be upset if by chance you don't get drafted. You get drafted by somebody else instead of your top team, let's say. And really try to make the best of it, because you're going to be there for a little while, for a season. But that's also intentionally why we only have 1 season contracts. And Cam has said in a conversation with me, he's like, teams have roughly 4 or 5 months of that of them being on that team, their team, to make the case that their team is the one for you. And if they can't, then you're free to go to free agency. We're seeing a lot of people moving and shaking, especially with the expansion teams out there with free agency. But there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also nothing wrong with just making the best of it and trying to do what's best for your team, for the team, for even if it's for 1 season. Hopefully you get drafted by the one that you do like, or hopefully they'll be able to make the case for you and you'll enjoy it there and things. But don't be too bummed out, or if by chance you get drafted by somebody that was not your number 1 pick, but ultimately it's the team's pick, and then you get to be able to flex your own agency 4 or 5 months down the road at the next free agency.
100%.
Yeah. Any final words? Anything else that you'd like to chat about around this?
No, you know what? I think we covered a lot. Just being able to talk with you guys. I appreciate you letting me on here. I've always kind of wanted to jump in on this and talk with minor league players because, I was at one time before Ethan Kai was the head coach of Lexington. I was head coach of Lexington for 1 season before I took on full time with London, and so I want to be able to have these minor league players be able to have the confidence and go into these interviews and talk to us, because every single person you talk to as a GM, owner, we've all been in the same shoes as you have, right? I mean, back in the day, we didn't have the minor leagues, but it was still the same process, right? So it's not like you guys are it's not like these owners and everything are like, oh yeah, we've never done this. We all have been there. We've all tried to sell ourselves. So,
Yeah.
Just like I said, just go in there, have great conversations with these owners. And, if the team drafts you that you didn't want to go to, you never know what's going to happen. That team may turn out to be the team you want to be on the whole time. I've had many players tell me afterward, they tell me like, oh man, I was disappointed I getting drafted by team A. I got drafted by team B instead. And then, I see them re-sign for 2-3 seasons that, in a row with that same team. And it's like, oh, I didn't think you wanted to be there. Well, I loved it. I loved being with the guys, and that happens all the time. So, it's like what you said. I mean, if you don't want, don't get discouraged if you don't get drafted by your team that you want to be on. It is what it is. But you never know. You may find a brand new home that you absolutely love. And if you don't get drafted in this draft, that's okay. There's always you can always go back into minor leagues. You can build up. And then, I mean, we've seen it time and time again with players that, didn't get drafted. They're going to be coming out in the next draft as top 5 picks because of the builds they have. So,
Absolutely.
especially now with being able to add animations and stuff to it if you want. But like I said, with that, I think with everything that's gone on with it, the minor league is such a great thing, and and I wish everybody the best of luck. If you are drafted by Indianapolis, you're going to be coming to a hell of a home. We're going to be able to stomp on the Harry and the Hendersons, or as I call them, the Minnesota Legend. I had to do it.
Yeah,
it once.
yeah. It's all good.
It's gonna, it's gonna be such a fun rivalry being in the division. I can't wait.
Where's that mute button? Where's that mute button?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to his video feed. We just lost it somehow.
It's just gone. It disappeared. But I can't wait for the season. I can't wait to see where all these rookies go, because all the rookies that I've interviewed so far have been fantastic. I think this is at first I didn't know how the draft class was going to be, but this draft class is really turning out to be pretty special, actually, being able to talk to these people. So looking forward to see where they all go. And my DMs are always open to anybody. So if any minor leaguer has any questions or anything, or just wants an owner GM perspective that's going to be non-biased, come talk to me. I'm more than willing to help out in any way I can. So, but Axel, once again, thank you. Daniel, Derek, Johnny, thank you for the questions, guys. And hope to see where you all go this upcoming season, and let's have a great season 19.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Chad, for joining us and all the knowledge bombs.
Not a problem, man. Have a good night.
Thanks,
You too.
Chad.
See you later.
Later, man.
All right. Cool. Well, that was great. I hope you guys enjoyed meeting Chad a little bit. Again, super easy to talk to. Most GMs are. Don't get too nervous. Don't get rattled by them. Just reach out. There's nothing wrong with that. So, we're going to move on. We are going to talk about. We had some games on Friday, Memorial Weekend. So we have here the small handful of games, our 4 games. We saw Albuquerque visiting Lexington. Daniel, do you have any thoughts on this game?
So the biggest thought I had was the fact that Albuquerque are doing the little things now. All of a sudden, they're starting to get momentum. The kicks matter. Even though Charles Blanton didn't have the best game in the world, 1930 for 196 yards, he did have 2 touchdowns. But they're starting to get their game. They're starting to figure out who they are as an identity, and it's really starting to show as we get into the later part of the season. And these wins will matter. Come closer to the playoff team. It's very tight who can make playoffs right now.
Derek, were you able to watch this game at all?
It was. My takeaway is that it wasn't that exciting of a game until about the last 2 minutes. The last 2 minutes was because Albuquerque had the lead, and then Lexington got the lead, and then Albuquerque scored with like no time left, and it was a pretty exciting end of the game.
Yeah. Johnny, were there any like the stats or anything? Was there any standout players at all for the game?
There was a couple that I notated. Of all the games, this one appeared to be the most even match game. Apparently, it went down to the last couple minutes. But Lexington's wide receiver, Zachary Patton, shout out to him. He had 7 catches for 137 yards and a touchdown. That seemed to be one of the more higher statistical player. And then also Dante Grimm. I know he's a 2-way player, but he also had 13 tackles as well. And just to give a shout out to him, just congrats to him on his re-signing in Louisiana as well.
Very cool. Yeah, congrats to Dante. Well, always has, whenever he posts something on Twitter, I'm always watching, see what he says.
Yeah, you never know.
It's entertaining to say the least. I love it. All right, so game 2, we saw the Ottawa Cavalry heading east to Annapolis. Derek, what is your take on this game? Were you able to watch it?
I was. So Annapolis just decided that they're going to run the ball a bunch like they normally do. Yeah, they had less than 100 yards passing, and Squarebush had 272 on the ground. I think he had like 9 yards per carry or something. It was Randy Squarebush show basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they couldn't slow him down.
Daniel, what was do you have any take on this game?
You said it pretty well. G. Struthers only threw the ball 23 times. It was all Randy Squirbush all the time. Credit to Ottawa, though, for keeping it close, like staying to fight into it, even though they were giving up a lot of yards by Randy Squirbush. Their defense tried to do the best they could to get themselves into the game. Jive had a pretty mediocre game, 27 for 41, only 170 yards. So, but Dwan Salmons, the running back, had 120 yards on the ground himself, so he had a pretty good game as well.
Mm-hmm. Johnny, on the defense of Ottawa, was there anybody stand out? Were there anybody trying to tackle Randy Squarebush? Anybody with some high tackles at all on Ottawa?
No, to agree with those guys, not even watching the game and just looking at stats, I could tell that it was the Squarebush show. But in the Annapolis secondary, Dale McClain did end up with 10 tackles and a pick. So congrats to him. But other than that, it looked like a Squarebush show once again.
And then talking about a air raid or a high scoring game, Daniel, tell me about the Lincoln Tacoma game.
Okay, so this is where my grind my gear segment's coming in, guys. I'm sorry to bring this up. Not about the game itself. So there's an achievement that happened in this game, and I'm going to say right now, congratulations to quarterback Ty Patak for having the most yards in a game. Great. Outstanding. There's some controversy from other people or groups that say two-way contracts, blah, 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 they shouldn't be a part of the minor leagues. That's fine and dandy. You can have an opinion on that. What I don't like is people calling out the achievement. We're a community, we're a group set of guys. He got the award, the most yards himself as a rookie quarterback. Don't go onto Twitter and things like that and say, oh yeah, but he only got it because he got a gold wide receiver, things like that. And I'm going to put out some stats. Shane Coppin, yes, had 207 yards, but T. the Queen had 200. So I'm saying because the way this game came out, you could have put a rookie wide receiver as your wide receiver one. I'm pretty sure he's still going to get those yards because that's the way the game just played.
Wow. And Derek, anything to add on that game?
I first of all, I agree with what Daniel said. I think it takes away from T's great game. She had a phenomenal game. And this game was definitely an air raid on one side, and Logan Lee went off on the ground. 12.7 yards per carry. That is insane. He outran Squarebush this week, and he should be commended for it.
Wow. Outran Squarebush as in total yards, total rushing yards, or per carry? Total yards. Wow.
Both.
Wow. So, Johnny, how many yards is that? Because I think you would did Randy Squarebush have like 270 some? So did Logan have
280?
Squarebush ended up with 272. That was one of the stats I wrote down. Logan Lee had 22 carries for 280 yards and 4 touchdowns. Stellar game for that guy.
Wow.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm just chiming in exactly what Daniel and Derek said. Taking the light off of Ty Patak, but Shane Kaufman and T. DeQueen had the exact same amount of catches, similar in yards. I think 200 yards for one, 207 yards for another. I totally agree that it wouldn't have mattered what wide receiver you put out there. He was going to perform well and break records. So congrats to Ty. Great game. It's awesome.
Yeah, even William McDowell had 56 yards. I mean,
right.
as a wide receiver 3, 50 yards and touchdowns, nothing to scoff at.
No, not at all. Not at all. How did JB Elliott do? Was there any running because that's the Tacoma's running back, is that right?
Yeah.
I think he had 70 yards.
71.
Not an awful game, yeah, but it was definitely
overshadowed. Sure.
I mean, he had 21 carries, so he had an okay amount of carries, but they just couldn't get it to go on the ground, but they definitely got it going in the air.
Gotcha. So let's move on to game number 4. Madison heading west to San Jose. Daniel, what was your take on this game?
I'm starting to feel for the Lynx. I mean, your guys are in close games this entire time, and it just kind of slips away. San Jose is the best team in the league right now, and you guys, it's only a 7-point game, right? There's only a 7-point spread. But I think turnovers is the big thing that keeps happening, and we're seeing this trend now a little bit. Xander Moon had 5 interceptions in this game, and I think that will probably be the difference maker in games like that that's really close, that's only a 7-point spread. So, and on the other side, Jordan only had 1 interception.
Gotcha. Derek, what was your thoughts?
It kind of what Daniel said too. They kept it really close. I mean, you're going up against the best team in the league. You're going up against an undefeated team as a winless team, and to keep it that close, I think says something. Also, I posted this on Twitter that Sipe is, I think, 4 touchdowns away from the record right now. So
with 3 games left, we'll see
Yep.
if he can do that. Johnny, were there any standouts? I'm curious. I can't remember. I want to say that Marcus Duncan did a decent job running for Madison, if I remember right.
He might have. That's
Okay.
not one I.
Sure.
I was going to say exactly what Daniel had said. The turnovers were killer. Obviously, Moon had 5 picks. I do have one shout out though. Sam Blotner had 2 of the 5 picks for San Jose's defense. So shout out to him. I do want to also piggyback on the records that Derek was mentioning. I looked into it just a little bit because yours truly does hold 1 record in the minor leagues. One thing I noticed is I hold the all-season record for QBR at 98.8. Currently, where we stand with 3 games left, Type Attack has a 106.4 QBR for the season, and Jordan Sipe has a 105.7 QBR. So both of those guys have a chance to take the only record I have, but I hope they do. That would be awesome because those are stellar passer ratings this far into the season.
Yeah, this has been a really fun season. It's kind of like it kind of reminds me of back in the day with in baseball. Who are those 2? The home run record. That's kind of reminds me of just back and forth between Sipe and Patak. Just who's gonna put up the most yards or touchdowns this week.
And you know what's bizarre? When you look at it, and this is no knock on the other quarterbacks in the league, but aside from those 2, there's a huge drop off. No idea why that is, because there's some quality quarterbacks that are sitting below those guys, but they've both been fun to watch for sure.
Cool. All right, so that wraps up this last Friday's games, and we've got games this Friday. So let's take a look at those coming up. So we've got game 1 shows Madison, or the early game, Madison heading south to Albuquerque to take on the Adams. Madison showing 0-5 currently against Albuquerque, who has been hot, losing their first 3 and then coming back these last 2 to take that. Daniel, Derek, Johnny, do you guys have any thoughts on this game?
I guess I'll start. Albuquerque's been playing really well the last few games. Like, they had an 0-3 start. I know Madison's 0-5, but their record shouldn't be 0-5, right? You lost close games. It should be better than it is. I think this game is actually going to be very good on paper between the 2 teams, and I think this will be a close game.
Do you think it'll be close low scores, or do you think it'll be close high scores or medium scores? Curious.
I think it's probably be, I'm going to say almost similar to the San Jose flight game last week. I think it's going to be like a 21-14 or 28-21 game.
Gotcha. Cool. Derek?
I'm thinking the same thing. I think it's going to be, it's not super low scoring, but it's going to be a low-ish score. And I think it's going to be a close game. I think that this is going to be Madison's first win.
And Johnny, what is your thought?
I was just about to say, mark my words, Madison's winning this game. I don't know if it'll be a low-scoring game, but Madison will get their first victory this week.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, game 2, below that, Lexington heads east to Annapolis. Right now, their records are sitting around comparable, 2-3 versus 3-2. Annapolis coming off a huge win, or a huge running attack from Squarebush. Lexington, I'd say one of the teams that could possibly stop Randy Squarebush with the defense that they have and the defensive planning that Ethan Kai does. Derek, what is your thoughts on this game?
I think this is gonna be a dogfight. I really do. I think Lexington will have some luck shutting Squarebush down, but I also think that Lexington's defense is going to give them fits. I think this game might get ugly for offenses.
And Johnny, your thoughts on this one?
I think personally, I believe I'm going back to last season, but I think Lexington had finally figured out this whole Squarebush running ordeal. With that being said, I think Annapolis is going to be prepared for that, and I think you're going to see Annapolis pass quite a bit more. So I think I love Lexington, but I think Annapolis wins. And I think it's due to the passing game this week.
Interesting. Daniel, do you have anything to say about Travis Arthur over in the Lexington backfield, knowing him a little bit deeper, being on Tulsa?
So knowing how the Navigators play without Squarebush, we've seen in their 2 losses, if you get ahead early and you stop Squarebush early, you're forcing them to throw. And Gene Struthers has been pretty turnover heavy, I want to say, in this season compared to last season. He's thrown a few picks, a few more than he probably would have liked. And Travis Arthur did have that amazing game where he had 4 picks in one game. And Ethan's ready. He's chomping at the bit, ready to see that happen again. So if Lexington get ahead of early and stop Squarebush running, because that's all you need to do is get ahead early. If you do, you're forcing them to throw the ball. And I think that's the game that Lexington wants to play.
Gotcha. Let's move up to game number 3. Lincoln down. I'm not trying to get my directions west to San Jose. Again, San Jose being super hot the last 5 games. Like they have, they've been, even if they are up and down or a team seems to know, how to stop them a little bit, it doesn't seem to last, and they're able to eke that win out. Daniel, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I'm super proud that the Rattlesnakes are 3-2. I'm just going to put that out there as someone who picked them for the season. They figured out their offense. The thrown game hasn't been working for them the first few games. They've got Logan Lee going. He's been churning. He's been going. He's been playing like a Squarebush for Lincoln at this point. He's the offense. They're going to need to keep going. San Jose is a difficult team to play against because San Jose will get ahead early. They like to score early, get ahead, and then press that lead to get turnovers. I'm hopeful for a Lincoln win, but I'm not going to put anything past San Jose Flight because they're a special team right now, being 5-0.
Yeah, they haven't. They've shown some little chinks in their armor a little bit here or there, but nothing has been enough to sink them. So we'll see. Maybe if Lincoln has their number. Derek, what are your thoughts on this game?
I'm going to make a stupid prediction here. I think Sight gets the record this week with 4 touchdowns.
So he gets that record, doesn't tie it, but he gets it with 4?
Well, I think he ties it, but he's going to tie this week. He's going to get those 4 touchdowns. He's going to get those 4 touchdowns, and he's going to tie that record this week.
Okay. That's bold. You're putting it out there right now.
It's bold. Well, I mean, looking at how unless things change for Lincoln this week, last week they did not stop the pass at all. I think this is a shot. I think he's got a shot, and I'm gonna call it, and I'm probably gonna be wrong, but go big.
How much is Jordan Sight paying you today? No.
Apparently pretty well, because he just said in chat, "Yo, I like Derek. He's pretty cool."
I'll take that in 20s there, Jordan.
And Johnny, do you agree with Derek at all, or do you think it's going to be close, or what are your thoughts?
I think it'll be close. I think with 3 games left and 4 touchdowns, it seems like a pretty easy thing to accomplish, but I think it's going to take him up until the last week to get it. He may tie it second to the last week, but I think it's going to come down to last week. But this game, personally, I think is to me probably the funnest game to watch. I think Lincoln is on the rise, and I'm not saying San Jose is going to get dealt their first loss, but I'm not going to pick a winner in this game. But I think it's going to be the closest game of the week.
Gotcha. It should be a fun one to watch. Game 4, we see Tacoma heading north of the border to Ottawa. Again, tied both of these teams 2-2. Or I'm sorry, 2-3. So Tacoma, after their air show last week, do you think they're going to be able to do the same thing here against Ottawa? Do you think Ottawa is going to step up and has a different backfield to be able to stop Tacoma's air raid? Do you think Tacoma's going to try running? Or what do you think the odds are for Ottawa? Derek, we'll start with you.
I think it's Tacoma's game to lose. Not saying that it's going to be a blowout or anything, but I think with the way Tacoma's been playing, I know 2-3 doesn't sound great, but they have been in a lot of games, and I think Ottawa has had their losses haven't been the best. So I'm going with Tacoma.
Gotcha. And Johnny, what's your take on this game?
Tacoma.
Easy as that. Just drops the mic.
No, I think it'll be a good game. I think Tacoma, the way that they performed in the last few weeks, I think it's been a little uncertain on what their offense is going to do. It seemed a little pass heavy last week. I wouldn't bet on them doing the same thing. And maybe they do just to confuse Ottawa, but waffles.
Daniel, Mr. Waffles.
It's all about those waffles. So 2-3 doesn't sound good. How about 3-2? Because I think that's Tacoma's actual record is 3-2.
Is it?
T pointed that on the chat. And T, don't worry, I got you. You don't have to go off of my head, okay? I got you, girl.
Thank you.
I think they're going air raid again. Tacoma, in 2 games this season, has scored over 40 points. I think that's outstanding, right? They scored 40 points in 2 games so far. We've only played 5 games. I think, and Ottawa has one of the best secondary. I'm not knocking Ottawa secondary at all. They have one of the best on paper secondary groups. But Tacoma is special right now with their quarterback, with their wide receivers, even Batakalupi. I want to point out real quickly. I'm going to get his stats up from last game. He had 86 yards, I want to say. Oh, no, he only had 13, sorry. There's something else. 56. Yeah, William McDowell, you have mentioned that earlier. But, they're passing the game to everyone. And it's not just the top of the ladder. They're going 1, 2, 3. Everyone's getting touches. And I think it's going to continue. You got to stop their passing game. And Ottawa has the tools to do it, but I got to go Tacoma. It's all about the waffles.
Waffles versus biscuits and gravy.
You biscuits and gravy win every time.
Waffles and gravy. All right. So that's our 4 games coming up on Friday. We've just got roughly 48 hours left before less than 48, 46 hours, something like that. Not that much hours left. Thanks for hanging out here with us. Thank you, T, for updating me, pointing out my faux pas in the numbers there. Yeah, I want to see, this is for those watching live, those watching after the fact, the recording, I want to see you out in the SFLm Gen chat or over in Fights and Insights. I want you repping your team. I want you, who do you think is going to win, and share that with others and get some energy going. Start some fires underneath some people's butts in preparation for these games coming up. Also, we've got blah blah blah. We have the Pro Bowl voting, so make sure you get out there and vote for your favorites. We'll do another little. Maybe we'll do a little hype up. Coming for Friday as the games are starting, kind of thing. Making sure that you guys are out there voting and campaigning for yourselves to get to get people to give you votes and things. So with that, Daniel, Derek, Johnny, any last words from you, Daniel?
Yeah, so with the minor league, even though we got like 2 or 3 games, the playoff race is still wide open. I just want to elaborate that a bit more because there's only one team that's 5-0. One team still needs to get a win, but I'm sure they're going to get multiple wins throughout the season. They're playing better and better every week. But besides that, it's 2-3 and 3-2. It couldn't be closer between after 1 and last right now. Everyone's 2-3, 3-2. Everyone has a shot at playoffs. So go and play the best you can, guys, because it's going to be a fun couple of weeks as we get to that stretch.
And Derek, anything from you?
Yeah, no, I'll just mirror what Daniel said. I remember last year, my wife played for Memphis, and they had a losing record with going in the last few games of the season, and they made playoffs. And because I remember the last couple games of the season, there was a lot of 3-4, 4-3 teams, and teams that thought that they were done snuck in. So
you never know; it's never too late. Johnny, any final words from you?
I was just going to mention to everybody to please vote for the Prospect Bowl. Everybody's votes play into it. I don't care if you vote for yourself, but the more votes, the better. I'm excited to watch it. Excited for this Friday's games. We're down to the last few weeks where every game matters, every win matters. So it'll be fun to watch the end.
Awesome. Thank you for that. All right. So, yeah, everybody watching, thank you for joining us tonight. Thanks for hanging out here just a little bit later. Thank you to Mickey. Thank you to Chad. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Johnny. Thanks for everybody joining us tonight on this wonderful Wednesday evening. I'm looking outside my window right now. The sun is setting. It's beautiful outside. Might get outside a little bit this evening after we get done here. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. And with that, we will see you guys next week. And we'll see you at the games on Friday, too. Have fun. All right. Good night.
Have a good one, everyone.
later.